Dr. Terry Langen, who is the Dean of Arts and Sciences, the College of Arts and Sciences, and to Susan Anderson, who's the Director of Academic Counseling and Support, to talk about academic expectations.
Thank you, Sister. Good morning. My name is Terry Langen, and I am Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. I just finished my 25th year here at St. Thomas. Most of those years I spent in the Department of Economics as a professor and also department chair before moving over to the Dean's office several years ago. On behalf of all the faculty and the academic staff, not only in the College of Arts and Sciences, but also in the School of Social Work, the School of Engineering, the School of Education, and the College of Business, we'd like to welcome you here to St. Thomas. We're very happy that you're here. With me this morning is Susan Anderson, who is Director of Academic Counseling for St. Thomas. We are here to talk to you this morning about the academic expectations that we hold for your students and to enlist your aid in helping us to convey those expectations to them. Your students will have an opportunity later today to hear about these same expectations from a member of the faculty. But that shouldn't be the last time they hear this clear and consistent message. They should hear this message from us and hopefully from you over the next several weeks leading up to the start of classes, but also maybe over the next semester or two, just as helpful reminders. After Susan and I have finished our presentations, we'll be happy to take questions that you might have about academic life at St. Thomas. I'd also point out that if you don't get all your questions answered this morning, over the noon hour, there'll be an information fair with lots and lots of people, including most of the department chairs, there to answer more of your questions about academics at St. Thomas. So, in making a list of the academic expectations that we have for your students, first and foremost would be that your student needs to take primary responsibility for his or her own education. Okay, so let me repeat that once more. Your student needs to take primary responsibility. Please allow them to do that. You're going to see them struggle at first because they're not used to being in that role. You may even struggle at first because you sort of have been in that role. But you have to trust that they can do this, they can take this on, they can succeed without you being in charge. You're going to be tested along the way. There are going to be some tough tests, and you're going to be tempted to just step in and say, stand aside, let me solve your problems for you. Please don't do that. Please help them figure out how to solve their own problems. So I said you're going to be tested over time. It may come as soon as lunchtime. When your student says to you, you know, this afternoon I'm meeting with someone to discuss my first semester of classes without you. Don't say, oh no, that can't happen. It'll be okay. You'll do fine. Let's talk about what information you want to share with this person that you're meeting with. So put on a brave face, in other words. Pretend that you're not nervous too. And it really will be okay. If it makes you feel any better, I can guarantee you your student will be meeting with a trained professional in academic counseling. And if you need a little more help, this will be our secret. In a college career of 33 courses, it's virtually impossible to mess up choosing the first 4. So it really will be okay. And if you're still not completely relieved, Susan can give you more information about that process in a little bit. Just out of curiosity, could I see a show of hands from those parents for whom this is a first child beginning college? Oh my goodness. No, I shouldn't tease. It's a little nervous making, isn't it? Talk to the people who didn't raise their hand. They'll tell you it's going to be okay. It really will be okay. And the reason I know it's going to be okay is because St. Thomas has lots and lots and lots of resources to help your students be successful. And top of that list would be our professors. Your students' professors very much will become invested in your student and want to see them succeed. But they also want to see your student making an honest effort and making a commitment to their own education. And once they see that, your student's home free. But lots and lots of other resources in addition to those professors. So, in order to take responsibility for one's own education, I think it's important for your students to understand what their role or their place is here at St. Thomas. I would like to stress, and this may sound strange coming from an economist, I would like to stress that your students are not consumers of a good, okay? They are not buyers, and we are not sellers, even though we will send you a bill from time to time. Okay, but the thing I want to stress is it's not like we're this mail order company, for example, where you can pre-order a pre-packaged degree and have it ready, to haul away with you. In fact, your student needs to come, show up, come inside, be prepared to stay for a while. Your student is actually going to be the producer in those economics terms. Your student's going to be a producer of their own education. We are going to give them the tools that they need to produce that education, but they're going to be the producers of that education. The production's going to take place in the classrooms, in the laboratories, the music ensemble practice rooms. It's going to take place in the library filled with resources, in the auditoriums with guest speakers, and in the late night study sessions in the residence halls. It will take place in the service learning opportunities, in the internship opportunities, and the study abroad opportunities. The recurring theme there, of course, is the word opportunity, and as the word suggests, your student needs to be ready and willing to take advantage of those opportunities as they present themselves. In other words, your student needs to play an active role in creating their own education. They can't be passive bystanders. Okay, this is not grade 13 continuation of high school. Okay, there's a change. Your students are no longer these simple receptors of information, just let me have it and I'll absorb it like a sponge and then spit it back to you later when the time comes. They're the builders of their education. It's a very different model, and it's going to take some getting used to. It's going to take some getting used to for all of you too. I think the hard thing for some parents to learn is that you don't have a big role to play anymore in the success of your student. You've done just about all that you can do to get them to this point. And by the way, congratulations for getting them to this point. But now it needs to be up to your student. Okay, so what can you do? I think there's still a role, I know there's still a role for you to play. What can you do? You can be supportive and encouraging of the learning. You can take an interest in what they're learning. Maybe ask your student about his or her classes. Maybe take a particular interest in one and follow along through the semester. How's that economics course? I'm sure it's going to be economics. How's that economics course going? What'd you learn this week? And then listen to what they tell you. Let them know what they're doing is really important. Stress the importance of time management. Ask them every once in a while how that's going, because that's going to be another challenge for them. And stress the importance of taking advantage of those resources that I was telling you about. Go see your professor. Go visit the Writing Center. Go visit the Math Resource Center. Go work with the departmental tutors. These are all the resources that are important in the St. Thomas education. And if it helps at all, you can say, you're paying for them, make good use of them. At the end of their 4 years at St. Thomas, our very most successful students will tell you about the mentor relationships they formed with their professors, including work they may have done together, a paper they've written, or a conference presentation they've made. They'll speak of close relationships they've formed with research librarians who've taught them how to do research, writing center staff who've taught them how to better present their ideas. They will speak of the relationships they've formed with people in the community through their service learning projects and people from around the world through study abroad. And most importantly, they'll tell you about the ideas they've encountered along the way and how those ideas have changed how they view the world and changed how they live in that world. They have come to view their education as something that they created in partnership with the faculty and staff that they worked with along the way. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Susan Anderson. I'm the Director of Academic Counseling and Support, and that means that I oversee the academic counselors who have enrolled your son or daughter in fall semester classes. In our department, our staff members are planning for the orientation program all year long, and so when you are finally here with us, it's just a thrill. It's our favorite time of year. We love working with first-year students, and the staff is back in our office suite right now getting ready to meet with your son or daughter this afternoon, and there's really great energy in that office. So welcome on behalf of Academic Counseling and Support. I want to take a few minutes this morning to explain the process of how your student has been enrolled in classes and hopefully answer some questions for you about some of those logistics. As Dr. Langen mentioned, we intentionally separate parents and students for the advising portion of the day. Be assured it's not because we don't value your opinion. We know that you know your son or daughter better than anyone. We know that. And you've heard a theme this morning about ownership and engagement, and it is an orientation to that for many students. And so we realize that that's for some students going to be a bit of an uncomfortable thing without you right there. And that's from our perspective, we kind of like that. We think that's an appropriate orientation and an appropriate level of discomfort, frankly. But all of the counselors and advisors that will be meeting with students know that. We help them anticipate questions. We really know that it's a big day, and so they'll be with a very compassionate person. And frankly, when parents and students do those kind of conversations together, it's very easy for the parent to just, as they always have, and in many cases in the past, it's been appropriate to just steer the ship. And the student just naturally kind of takes a passive role. And this orientation day is a shift, right? And so that steering needs to happen by your son or daughter, and that's why that's a separate thing. Okay, so prior to today, and you may be familiar with some of these processes, we've asked them to do some things to prepare for enrollment. So we sent them instructions. For certain students, we want them to take placement exams for certain subject areas. We have an orientation and registration guidebook, and that's quite an extensive document. It's online, still available. Maybe even after today, there'd be more context for all of you to read through that. That would be a good thing. Lots of course descriptions and just, again, nice parameters of how enrollment and graduation requirements are laid out at St. Thomas. And then we had them complete an online course preference form. So it's a questionnaire that gives us information about anything that will affect their fall semester schedule, the academic interests that they have, the academic major that they're most likely to consider or thinking about right now. And by the way, we know that that can change by the day, sometimes by the hour. So we've had students interested in some things in the morning, and by the afternoon they're thinking about something else. That's that's developmentally appropriate. We expect that. And so we don't call them undecided, we call them exploring. It sounds way more exciting. And but the reality is, for some majors, if they're considering certain things, it's important to start with some classes in the first semester, if at all possible. So we want to know about that. We also want to know about activities, music ensembles, an athletic team, whatever kind of might logistically affect how we think about classes for them. And I want to emphasize the counselors look at each record with such care and precision. We really pride ourselves, and we have a conviction of personal attention. And when I watch these staff members work with these kinds of things, I'm just so proud, and I'm proud to be a part of this institution, but part of that department. They really care about how they're going to pull a schedule together for a student. So we do that. We pay attention to individual student situations, and then in the context of our job, we need to kind of have equity in the process as well. So, as you might imagine, there are class sections that are more popular for young adults than others, like late morning, early afternoon. So we have a way that we register students in an equitable way. We distribute those kind of what we consider more popular, at least for first-year students, in an equitable way. And what that means is some of what we consider less popular, 8 a.m. classes or late afternoon or evening classes, are also distributed equitably, provided some of the other contexts that students have, which I didn't mention. Previously earned credit. Lots of students come to us. Some don't have any credit at all, and that's fine. And others come with quite a bit. And so, of course, we're gonna make sure that students aren't registered for classes that overlap with things they've already earned credit for. So all that to say, when students look at their schedules that we've created for them, they will have classes that they need to graduate. We will guarantee that. It may not be everything they truly, their first choice of exact class or class time. And that's true for everybody. And so that's kind of the context I want to give you in terms of the process of what we do. So they'll be meeting with a counselor or faculty member this afternoon. They'll be presented with this schedule. This will be the only time in their history at St. Thomas that this will be presented to them. We will guide them in future semesters, and it's going to be as early as November for J-term and spring semester, of how to do this for themselves. Given kind of the parameters of first-year students and all the different complications that each of them have, we found that to do this for them and talk them through the process and give them a voice through the course preference form and now during the conversation in the afternoon really serves their needs the best. We've gotten really great feedback from students about that. But be assured, if they're wanting certain things that didn't happen in this semester, like some are very familiar with our instructors, and they want to really take a class with a certain person or something else, they'll have an opportunity to really be in charge of that starting in the next semester. The orientation guide, if you looked at it, provided some sample schedules of what typical first semester schedules look like for students. And we will hand them, this is all, their schedules are available online, and we'll show them how to look at it. And many maybe have looked at it already. But we will have a packet, a kind of a printed kind of advising sheet with their schedule on it and relevant information, including frequently asked questions. So you don't have to remember all this today. We'll have that in writing for them and you. And you'll see their schedule. So this is just an example. Most students take 3 or 4 classes. I'd say more generally 4 classes. They're each 4 credits, so 16 credits is the standard, I would say, for first semester. If this Betsy's business schedule, lots of courses in the core curriculum, and then we include a course in economics, which meets a core class and is also a requirement for the business major. This is the one I wanted to really highlight to you. It's the one from, again, previous years where parents have concern, and I understand that. It's pre-health, pre-med, science schedules, especially with the labs in there. It looks like a long list of classes. 2 lab sciences, chemistry and biology, generally calculus, and then another core course. And it's a rigorous fall schedule, for sure. This is the prescribed curriculum from our science faculty, and it is what we recommend for students who are very serious about a pre-health path or a science major. And so the question is, isn't that too much in the first semester? That's a lot. The answer is yes, it is. And you better believe those students, there's hundreds of other students that have that same kind of schedule. They come together, they form a community right away, they start studying and really understanding the rigor of that kind of path. And we have learning communities in our science departments that also are very important in how students really are successful in this kind of schedule. So I guess I'd hope that you would team up with us again in messages when you see something like this, not like, wow, that's a lot, I don't know if you can do that, and more like, that's going to be a lot. Let's make sure we help you connect with resources and make sure you have everything you need to be successful. The undecided or exploring schedule, again, a variety of core curriculum classes, all required for graduation. And part of our work in academic counseling and support is to help students through the decision-making process. So we talk to students all the time about what majors are even at St. Thomas and what might be appropriate for me. We can be exploring that while they are making progress toward graduation. And some students have a really nice idea about what they'd like to pursue in either for a major or a minor. And in some cases, in their first semester, they can start with an introductory class, and communication and journalism is an example of that. So sometimes there will be a course that's related to an academic major in the schedule as well. So those are some examples. So I hope when your student comes and shows you their schedule, you'll have some context for what that will be and kind of how that came to be prior to that. And I will say, you're taking in a lot of information, both parents and students today, and in the moment, it's hard to think of everything you'd want to ask. And so a lot of times students go home, and then you start talking about all this stuff, and it makes sense you'd have questions afterwards. And what I would, again, hope you'll team up with us and say, when they call our office about schedules and things, we would love to talk directly to your student. We've had parents call on behalf of students in the past with great intentions. We really understand that. There's very little that we can do independently from the student being engaged in the conversation. So an example that I have, just recently when I talked to a daughter and a father who called, there were both of them on the line. So the daughter called and said, I have some questions about the course preference form. And I'm like, great. And she goes, my dad's on the other line. I said, okay. She was prepared. She asked her questions. After that conversation, the dad jumped in and said, I have a couple follow-up questions, and that was great. And I thought, what a great way to just give her some practice in kind of taking the lead in that kind of that questioning. We don't expect students to know how to do it, and so, but we want them involved and not having you do things for them. And I thought that was a great example. So if you're sitting out there somewhere, that was a great job. So that's the conclusion of my portion, and then we're here to answer your questions.
Thanks, Susan. So as Susan said, we're going to try to answer any questions you might have about the academic side of things here at St. Thomas. If your question might be better answered in a later session on student life or paying bills or things like that, we might just mention that. In addition, any really, really specific questions about a particular major, we might defer to that lunchtime information fair where the department chair would be a good person to get those specifics from. But you should feel free to ask us anything, and we'll try to answer everything. I'm actually going to ask the first question because this is a question that comes up often, and it comes with an unpopular answer. So rather than give you the unpopular answer, I'll give the unpopular answer to myself. The question goes something like this. I'm paying the bills around here. So does that mean that the grades will be sent home to me in the mail? And by the way, I assume it's fine if I can just call up at any time and talk with the professor about how my student is doing in their class. Right? Well, the answer to both those questions are very polite no's. No, the grades do not get mailed to your home. And no, it's not okay for you to call up and try to get information about how your student is doing in the classroom from a professor or from a dean even. And there are two reasons those answers are no. One's a very pragmatic answer, and one's probably a better answer than that one. The pragmatic answer is we're forbidden by law to share that information with you. The United States Congress, in their infinite wisdom, gave our children privacy rights, and that information on grades and classroom performance is theirs. It's theirs to share with you, but it's theirs. It's not ours to share with you. And the better reason is, isn't that a better way to go, to have them share that information with you than some dean that you saw on a stage once? It's important to keep those conversations going. From my experience, it's going to be a big transition. Part of it's going to be about academics and grades. A lot of it's going to be about life and how do I do the laundry and all these other things. So I would encourage you to keep open lines of communication with your students going. Ask them lots of questions. Once in a while, the question can be about the grades, and that's fine. But really, more communication is better, I guess. So, who has a second question that maybe have a happier answer to?
Can placement exams be done remotely? Yeah, the math exam is the only one that requires the proctor, and that we can arrange for a remote location for that. Yeah, and the other ones are online.
Yes.
That's a good question. If everyone heard that, is the advisor they meet today the advisor throughout their time at St. Thomas? Not likely. Although our office is open all the time for students to consult with, but we will assign students to a faculty advisor, and we try very hard for that advisor to be an instructor that they'll have in their first semester, or an instructor in the department of the academic major that they're interested in. And then that they will have that advisor until they officially declare their major, usually in the second year, and then their advisor changes to a faculty member in the department of the major.
The other thing I'd just quick throw in, then we'll get to the next question, is there are a lot of people around the campus willing to offer student advising help. Every one of their professors would give them advising help. Anyone in Susan's office, including the person they meet with today, they're not going anywhere. They'll be there. They can always go to talk to them. So we do assign students a faculty advisor from, hopefully, or almost certainly, one of their first semester professors. And we do that because they're going to see that professor 2 and 3 times a week. Makes it really easy to make that connection. But with a little effort, a student could have unofficially 2 or 3 other advisors around campus. Okay, so that's coming up in a later session.
That's a good, I forgot to mention that. There's some opportunities for appropriate changes, and again, it's not because I'm not a morning person, so I don't want to take the 8 a.m. Probably not going to be one we'll change. But if they're changing their mind about an academic interest or something that really feels like, yeah, that really needs to be a change for whatever reason, that's part of the reason for the discussion. Like, does this look good? What kinds of questions and changes might you have? So not quite in stone. That's exactly right.
Okay, so the question is about taking the 16 credit and graduating in 4 years. And this is a math question, and I love math questions, so I'm going to take this one. I mentioned earlier something about 33 course college career, which comes out to be 132 credits. If you do the math, if you took 16 credits every semester for 8 semesters, you'd be 1 course short. So there's a 33rd course. So where does that come from? Well, frankly, some of your students already have that 33rd course. through AP credit or PSEO credit or college in the schools credit. So that's not going to be an issue for them. For others that are not bringing in credit, where the 33rd credit or course tends to come from is maybe a January term course or a summer course. Or actually, we have some students who do music ensembles and they earn a quarter course credit. And after 4 semesters of music ensemble, that's their 33rd course. So the bottom line, well, there's lots of bottom lines, but one of the bottom lines is, yes, the curriculum is designed so that it's very possible and expected that your student will graduate in 4 years. Let me just tack on about the January term, because sometimes we get questions about the January term. Is my student required to take a January term? So we have students at St. Thomas who graduate having taken no January terms, no January term courses. We have students graduating who have taken a course every January term and everything in between. January term adds some flexibility without adding a particular requirement. It's a really good time for study abroad. We're going to make up some numbers here, but that's okay because I was trained. At any given January, a third of our students are taking a course abroad somewhere. Maybe another third of our students are taking one course on this campus. So they take a sort of a usual semester-long course, but be compressed into 4 weeks. So it'll be very time-intensive, which means just take the one in January. And maybe a third of our students in a given January are at home with you, maybe working a job, earning some money for spring semester tuition. So the January term really gives students some flexibility. Like I say, some students will take the January term course and then in spring semester only take 3 courses because they have an internship, or some will take a January term course to catch up because something went badly with a course and they had to drop in a fall semester. Will they get back on track with a January term? So lots of flexibility there. The J term starts as early as January 2nd, depends on the calendar year, as early as January 2nd, ends as late as January 31st maybe. However the calendar works to get us 4 weeks worth of courses. Yeah. So I have a conflict of interest. The question is, do I recommend first-year students take a January term? I have a conflict of interest here because we have a really hard time offering enough January term courses to satisfy all the demand for the January term courses. If that weren't an issue, I think it's a great idea to have a student, well, I'm a parent. I think it's a great idea to have a student on campus and not in my house during January. Because there's not a lot going on in January, and why not take a course? And it also helps keep the connections. Another question that comes along with this, can they continue to live in the dorms in January? Absolutely, that's part of the annual fee. The one thing is they need to be taking a course or have an on-campus job. We don't want students with 24/7 free time in the dorms getting in the way of the people who are actually taking the courses. So, do I recommend it? Yes, if they can find one to take that works their schedule. I think it's a great idea. Having said all that, I'll tell you that you know your student better than I do. You know whether that's a good idea for your student or not. But that's some of the reasons why I think it's a good idea. And there's one here. Well, let's see, 3, 4. Okay, that one doesn't count then. We'll cheat on that one. Go ahead. Right, you pay by credit. So whether you take it in J term or you take it in the fall, it would be the same charge. It's total number of courses that matter. We're going to go to the gentleman in the blue shirt because I think I saw his. Okay, so great. Yes. we'll give you two answers for the price of one. What's the major struggle for these first-year students? To me, it's they come in September and they say, wow, I have all this free time. I'm only in class. I've only got 2 classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, another 2 classes on Tuesday, Thursday. I've got all this free time. And they think about it as free time rather than the time that they're supposed to be doing the work for those 4 classes that they're taking. And then it comes time for the first exam. They say, yeah, I guess I didn't have all that free time. I wish I could have it back. That, to me, that's the number one adjustment that students need to make. They think they have the free time. If they really had that free time, we'd have them taking 5 or 6 courses. They don't have time to take 5 or 6 courses. They've got time to take 4 courses.
I'll just jump in. I echo that. And the bar is higher. And so whatever they've done in high school, and most students to be here have gotten good grades, and many have not had to work very hard for that. And they think that'll just kind of be the same here. And there is a big bump in the road when they realize the bar is much higher, and then they have to figure out how much they have to work to get over that bar. Yeah. I'm sorry? Yeah. For many, there's just a bit of a dip in their GPA, but many, the support is there, and so if they're willing to engage in that, we're here to help them kind of get up to speed and make it happen, even in the first semester.
And if I could just throw in a plea on that, if you could maybe lower your expectation on the grade a little bit, not too far, and really emphasize the learning. So when your A student comes to you and say, I'm getting an A minus, how about a little, that's great. Not only that, what did you learn as part of that?
Thank you very much for your time.